Nerve agents are a class of phosphorus-containing organic chemicals that disrupt the mechanism by which nerves transfer messages to organs. The disruption is caused by blocking acetylcholinesterase, an enzyme that normally destroys acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter. As chemical weapons, they are classified as weapons of mass destruction by the United Nations according to UN Resolution 687, and the production and stockpiling was outlawed by the Chemical Weapons Convention of 1993. The Chemical Weapons Convention officially took effect on April 29, 1997. The use of dangerous gases in warfare is forbidden by treaties already in the Hague Conventions of 1899 and 1907 and Geneva Protocol of 1925. Poisoning by a nerve agent leads to contraction of pupils, profuse salivation, convulsions, involuntary urination and defecation, and eventual death by asphyxiation as control is lost over respiratory muscles. Some nerve agents are readily vaporized or aerosolized, and the primary portal of entry into the body is the respiratory system. Nerve agents can also be absorbed through the skin, requiring that those likely to be subjected to such agents wear a full body suit in addition to a respirator. Biological effects. As their name suggests, nerve agents attack the nervous system of the human body. All such agents function the same way, by inhibiting the enzyme acetylcholinesterase, which is responsible for the breakdown of acetylcholine in the synapse. ACH gives the signal for muscles to contract, preventing them from relaxing. Initial symptoms following exposure to nerve agents are a runny nose, tightness in the chest, and constriction of the pupils. Soon after, the victim will then have difficulty breathing and will experience nausea and drooling. As the victim continues to lose control of their bodily functions, they will involuntarily salivate, lacrimate, urinate, defecate, and experience gastrointestinal pain and vomiting. Blisters and burning of the eyes or lungs may also occur. This phase is followed by initially myoclonic jerks followed by status epilepticus. Death then comes via complete respiratory depression, most likely via the excessive peripheral activity at the neuromuscular junction of the diaphragm. The effects of nerve agents are very long-lasting and increase with successive exposures. Survivors of nerve agent poisoning almost invariably suffer chronic neurological damage. This neurological damage can also lead to continuing psychiatric effects. Mechanism of action. When a normally functioning motor nerve is stimulated, it releases the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which transmits the impulse to a muscle or organ. Once the impulse is sent, the enzyme acetylcholinesterase immediately breaks down the acetylcholine in order to allow the muscle or organ to relax. Nerve agents disrupt the nervous system by inhibiting the function of the enzyme acetylcholinesterase by forming a covalent bond where acetylcholine would break down. Acetylcholine thus builds up and continues to act so that any nerve impulses are continually transmitted and muscle contractions do not stop. This same action also occurs at the gland and organ levels, resulting in uncontrolled drooling, tearing of the eyes and excess production of mucus from the nose. The structures of the complexes of soman with acetylcholinesterase from Torpedo californica have been solved by X-ray crystallography. The mechanism of action of soman could be seen on example of 2-WFZ. Antidotes. Atropine and related anticholinergic drugs act as antidotes to nerve agent poisoning because they block acetylcholine receptors, but they are poisonous in their own right. While these drugs will save the life of a person affected with nerve agents, that person may be incapacitated briefly or for an extended period, depending on the amount of exposure. The endpoint of atropine administration is the clearing of bronchial secretions. Atropine for field use by military personnel is often loaded in an autoinjector, for ease of use in stressful conditions. Pralidoximachloride, also known as 2-PAM chloride, is also used as an antidote. Rather than counteracting the initial effects of the nerve agent on the nervous system like atropine, Prolydoxymochloride reactivates the poisoned enzyme by scavenging the phosphoryl group attached on the functional hydroxyl group of the enzyme. Though safer to use, it takes longer to act. Revival of acetylcholinesterase with prolydoxymochloride works more effectively on nicotinic receptors, while blocking acetylcholine with atropine is more effective on muscarinic receptors. Often, severe cases of the poisoning are treated with both drugs. Countermeasures in development. Butyrylcholinesterase is a prophylactic countermeasure against organophosphate nerve agents. It binds nerve agent in the bloodstream before it can exert effects in the nervous system. Because it is a biological scavenger, it is currently the only therapeutic agent effective in providing complete stoichiometric protection against the entire spectrum of organophosphate nerve agents. Classes. There are two main classes of nerve agents. The members of the two classes share similar properties and are given both a common name and a two-character NATO identifier, G-series. The G-series is thus named because German scientists first synthesized them. G-series agents are known as non-persistent, while the V-series are persistent. All of the compounds in this class were discovered and synthesized during or prior to World War II, led by Dr. Gerhard Schrader. This series is the first and oldest family of nerve agents. The first nerve agent ever synthesized was GAR in 1936. GB was discovered next in 1939, followed by GD in 1944, and finally the more obscure GF in 1949. GB was the only G agent that was fielded by the US as a munition, specifically in rockets, aerial bombs, and artillery shells. V-series drive. Runaji Ghosh, a chemist at the Plant Protection Laboratories of Imperial Chemical Industries, was investigating a class of organophosphate compounds. Like Gerhard Schrader, an earlier investigator of organophosphates, Ghosh found that they were quite effective pesticides. In 1954, ICI put one of them on the market under the trade name Amaton. It was subsequently withdrawn, as it was too toxic for safe use. The toxicity did not go unnoticed, and some of the more toxic materials had in fact been sent to the British Armed Forces Research Facility at Porton Down for evaluation. After the evaluation was complete, several members of this class of compounds became a new group of nerve agents, the V agents. The best known of these is probably VX, with the Russian V gas coming a close second. This class of compounds is also sometimes known as Tamerlan's esters, after Lars-Erik Tamerlan of the Swedish Institute of Defense Research. The V-series is the second family of nerve agents and contains 5 well-known members: VE, VG, VM, VR, and VX, along with several more obscure analogues such as VP. The most studied agent in this family, VX, was invented in the 1950s at Porton Down in the United Kingdom. All of the V agents are persistent agents, meaning that these agents do not degrade or wash away easily and can therefore remain on clothes and other surfaces for long periods. In use, this allows the V agents to be used to blanket terrain to guide or curtail the movement of enemy ground forces. The consistency of these agents is similar to oil. As a result, the contact hazard for V agents is primarily, but not exclusively, dermal. VX was the only V-series agent that was fielded by the US as a munition, consisting of rockets, artillery shells, airplane spray tanks, and landmines. VP is a V-series nerve agent closely related to the better-known VX. Like most of the V-series nerve agents, with the exception of VX, VP has not been extensively researched outside of military science. Little is known about it other than its chemical formula. Novichok agents. The Novichok agents are a series of organophosphate compounds that were developed in the Soviet Union from the mid-1960s to the 1990s. The goal of this program was to develop and manufacture highly deadly chemical weapons that were unknown to the West. These new agents were designed to be undetectable by standard NATO chemical detection equipment and to defeat chemical protective gear. In addition to the newly developed third-generation weapons, binary versions of several Soviet agents were developed and were designated as Novichok agents. Insecticides. A number of insecticides, the phenothiazines, organophosphates such as dichlorvos, malathion and parathion, are nerve agents. The metabolism of insects is sufficiently different from mammals that these compounds have little effect on humans and other mammals at proper doses. But there is considerable concern about the effects of long-term exposure to these chemicals by farm workers and animals alike. At high enough doses, however, acute toxicity and death can occur through the same mechanism as other nerve agents. Organophosphate pesticide poisoning is a major cause of disability in many developing countries and is often the preferred method of suicide. Dissemination. Several methods exist for disseminating nerve agents on the battlefield. These include uncontrolled aerosol munitions, smoke generation, explosive dissemination, atomizers, humidifiers and foggers.